I picked up the phone and called the FBI. This
Oh
is
no.
true. So I called the FBI and said, "Look, there's a guy here that somebody tells me you're looking for. If I tell you where he is, and will you tell me if you're looking for him?" Sure. So I told him. He said, "We'll call you back in 20 minutes." Well, 20 minutes later, the place was surrounded by FBI guys. You could
No.
see them are sticking their heads up. Finally, one of the guys
Oh.
comes up to the door and he says, "Knock, knock. We're looking for Sly Stone. Yeah, he's over here." So they took him to the Bridgeport jail and sent him back to California. Yeah.
Damn. What's happening, family? My name is Al Thomas, and you're watching In the Black of My Mind podcast. Do me a favor and go to the bottom of the screen and click subscribe, like, and comment, and tell everybody about this podcast. How many bodies? Everybody's. Tell everybody about the podcast. Today's guest is a musician, a recording engineer, a philanthropist, a businessman, and the proprietor of a legendary institution, Horizon Studios, Horizon Music Group. Welcome to the podcast, Vic Steffens. How
Thanks,
you
bud.
feeling, bro?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good, good, good.
Fighting the
Uh,
war as always.
yeah, okay. I appreciate you doing this, man.
I'm happy to do it.
Cool, cool. Now, just I want to get back to the basics because yeah, I'm just trying to let folks know who we're dealing with here and where you came from and all that kind of stuff. Well, where were you born, bro?
I was actually born in New York, New York,
Uh huh.
but my family immediately moved up to Connecticut. We lived
Oh,
in. I was very young. We lived in Meriden, and then moved to Cheshire, which was
okay.
where I spent most of my formative years.
Well, I know some people spending some formative years in Cheshire, but it's
Well,
it's a different kind of vibe where they're at.
mm,
Any brothers and sisters?
I have three sisters.
Hmm.
One who is the infamous Christina Ullman, the singer
Oh,
from
okay.
the Saturday Night Live band. So you might not even know that she's my sister.
I,
Uh,
I had no idea.
Very popular in eastern United States.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I have two other sisters. One lives in North Carolina, and the other is in Milford, Connecticut.
Oh, where's the last one? I'm sorry.
Milford,
Oh, in Milford. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Are the other two involved in music at all or
not
in the
officially.
arts?
Well,
Oh,
my youngest sister is into theater. She actually runs a couple of theaters down in in North Carolina, and my other sister, no,
mm-hmm.
she's I think head of the board of education or something in Milford right now.
Oh, cool, cool, cool.
Yeah,
When did you first start playing music?
sixth grade
Right.
is you know. My sister had found some pictures in Life magazine on the last page of these guys named the Beatles, and she walked into my room and said, "Do you know anything about this?" And so we no, but it looked interesting, so we started checking it out, and I ended up becoming interested in playing the drums. I remember getting a snare drum in sixth grade and almost getting thrown out of class for banging on my desk with stirrers. Um, but then, from there, actually, I played a little bit of guitar. My sister and I used to play like at some churches and coffee houses.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, I became more involved with drums and started putting bands together. She wasn't initially in them, but at one point we did. She did join the band, and we started rehearsing. And in my favorite story was we used to rehearse in my parents' basement, and this woman moved in next door with her husband. She had been a big band singer in New York, and she used to hear us rehearse. One day she came over and, "Oh, you guys are really good. I'm going to get you a record deal." I'm like, "Yeah, right. Of course you are." you know? But
Sure.
except she did.
Oh, wow.
She calls us up a couple weeks later and said, "You go to New York. You have to be these three places at these three times. You're auditioning for three record companies." The third one, which was an independent company, signed us. They were called Mainstream Records, and they had a few people on the label. The guy was an ex Mercury A&R guy, he was very astute. He had signed this girl from San Francisco, Janice Joplin,
Oh,
Big
wow.
Brother and the Holding Company. They were nobody yet,
Uh-huh.
but they did put out a record which had their first single "Call on Me" on it, which charted. Not huge, but it definitely got them off the ground. They had another band called the Amboy Dukes, which had a #1 record with their guitar player Ted Nugent.
Oh, wow.
So this guy, he was pretty good. And he was like, what had happened was after Big Brother and the Holding Company record came out, Columbia stole them from him.
Hmm.
They were a much bigger label. They had more money. They stole them. And so he wanted to get somebody to replace her on the label, and that was my sister because we were doing kind of blues rocky stuff like they had done.
Mm-hmm.
And so they signed us, and we did a couple of records with them before they just said, well, this isn't working, they dropped us.
Oh, wow.
But,
Yeah, yeah,
early
yeah.
on, we were like 16, 17 years old. They
Oh,
took us
wow.
to New York, put us in A&R Studios, which at the time was the biggest studio in New York,
Mm-hmm.
with Phil Ramone was our engineer, who later went on to produce Billy Joel and Paul Simon, all these
Wow.
huge
Yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah.
But he was just an engineer then, although he was part owner of the studio. He did our sessions, and it was just a great way to get started. Even if it didn't pan out in the long run, we knew what to do after that.
Right, right, right. So now, so you were still in high school during this period of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm. That, did it interfere with studies and stuff?
Yeah, sure. How could it not? I mean, when I got out of high school, I went to Wesleyan. I got a full scholarship to go to Wesleyan University, which is, a great, fabulous
A
school,
great school, yeah.
great school. But for me, it wasn't where I was going. So I ended
Okay.
up leaving after 2 years to play drums in bands. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Much to my parents' chagrin. Yeah,
Well, I'm sure.
yeah. But you know, I've never had a day job, so I guess it must have worked out pretty well.
Wow. Yeah,
Never.
that's a beautiful thing.
It is. Trust me.
That's a beautiful thing.
Not much you can say about them. How the hell did that happen?
Hey, man, you when you what's that's if you enjoy doing something, figure out a way to get paid for doing it, and you never
Right.
work a
Well,
day in your life.
I never have.
Mm.
I mean, people sometimes say, "Oh, you work so many hours." What do you mean? I don't work at all. I've never really worked. I never really had a job where I had to show up at a certain time and do this that somebody was telling me what to do.
Wow. I wish that were my story.
I don't blame you. It's a good story if you can get
Yeah,
it.
yeah, 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 yeah. So now you had that. Did you have the opportunity to do any touring while you're out playing with these different bands and stuff?
We toured the Northeast,
Okay.
and we were really big. This band was called the Scratch Band, and it was probably at the time the single most popular, you know, barish band in the Northeast. We were doing
Okay.
very, very well. And my sister was in it. She went on to the Saturday Night Live Orchestra. Our guitar player, our second guitar player, was G.E. Smith, who went on to be Hall and Oates and
Oh, wow.
plays right now with some of the Pink Floyd guys. I mean, he's had a very good career also.
Mm.
So the three of us, and then some of the other people. There was two singers in the band. It was sort of like a White Sam and Dave thing. There were two singers
Mm-hmm.
up front, and the other guy is in a band called the Soul Drivers from Hartford, and I just did a record with them a couple of years ago. I did very well. So
Mm.
we had people that they weren't the normal bar floggers.
Right, right, right.
It was a lot better than that.
When did you know that you were going to be doing music as a career?
Very early on,
Is that
you know.
right?
Yeah. When I remember my mom got me this. The one time I ever had a day job was for 3 weeks. She got me a job at a gas station in Cheshire. And I would go
Okay.
there, and the guy was an idiot. I got myself fired after 3 weeks, and I said right then, not doing this anymore. So
Mm. Mm.
that was it.
Wow.
Somehow it worked out. Don't ask me how, but
Right.
it did.
Man, I remember I was telling somebody I worked at McDonald's for 3 days,
Right.
and the third day, they put me on the grill, no
Okay.
training or anything, and this is down in Stamford, and they had just opened up a new movie theater in Landmark Square,
Okay.
and so I'm on the grill, and the movie theater opens up. I mean, and closes up, and all of the people from the movie theater come over to the to the McDonald's, so
Right.
it's packed in there. And so, man, I got burgers over here. I got fries over here. I got pies down. I got everything. And all of a sudden, all of the buzzers are going off, man. And I'm flipping and trying to make Big Macs and all that kind of stuff. And it just wasn't happening. And the manager that was on came and was screaming at me and said, "Go downstairs and take a break." I'm like, man, I had no training, man. And you guys gonna? This is on the third day. This is how you don't bring anybody back here to help me or anything. I went downstairs, like I'm sitting on the bench, and I changed my clothes and walked out of there and never looked back.
Good for
So
you.
McDonald's Corporation, if you're listening, you all owe me for 3 days
Yeah, I bet they do. With interest.
with interest, right? From 1974.
That's great.
Wow. How did you get into engineering?
When we got dropped by Mainstream, the New York company, uh, kind of the only game in town around here was this place, Trod Nozzle Recording
Oh, in Wallingford?
in Wallingford, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember. I
And
remember.
my sister, she was kind of dating Al Anderson at the time from the
Hmm.
Wild Weeds. And so they were there, and he introduced us, and they ended up, I guess I would say, signing us, although in retrospect it wasn't much of a signing.
Yeah.
But I mean, we were there for years, and we learned a lot. And we were a band, but we were also in the studio all the time, and we also
Hmm.
did a lot of studio work. So I was in the studio quite a bit, and I became more and more and more interested in it.
Hmm.
And then at some point, there was a lot of crazy stuff going on there. The owner he got into Scientology,
Oh, okay.
which I wasn't very interested in getting into. So
Right, right.
at that point, you couldn't really be there if you weren't interested in Scientology. So I
Oh,
left.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it was just pressure all the time. So I left, and a couple of years, I was just very frustrated. But I was in other bands, and we were doing okay, but it wasn't really going anywhere. One day, I picked up the New Haven Advocate, the newspaper at the time, and
Hmm.
I see in the back this thing, the Business Academy of Music. It was a course, a weekend course that you could
Hmm.
take with some guy who I didn't know who it was. But I was like, well, I got to do something here. And at the time, back in the '70s, you couldn't learn anything about the music business like you can now on the internet.
Oh,
You could
right,
find out
right,
somebody
right.
would tell you everything. And back then, nobody would tell you anything
Hmm.
because if you knew something, they might not be able to take advantage of you.
Right,
So,
right.
so I went to take this course. I had to drive to Boston to do it, and I met this guy Marty Kugel, who was Marty had produced "In the Still of the Night"
Oh,
by the
wow.
Five Sat. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
giant record. He produced it in the basement of a church in East Haven, Connecticut.
Oh, I didn't
And,
know that.
yeah, and the record was huge. And he was like sort of maybe a little bit starting to be out of it, but he knew everybody and he knew everything. And
Hmm.
it was a fantastic course. And at the end of the course, he approached me and he said, "You've done a lot more stuff than anybody here. What's your story? Why are you here?" And I told him the story, which was, well, I had left there, and I kind of felt like once I left, I became a non-person
Hmm.
because they knew everybody and they never let us know anybody.
Oh, yeah.
So I said, well, take this phone number down, call this guy, and he's looking for some people. He's renovating a mansion in northwest Connecticut.
Hmm.
And he's looking for people to help, and he's paying them the studio time. So you can do demos, you can do stuff. So that was Paul Lecca, who produced Harry Chapin, produced REO Speedwagon,
Oh, wow.
produced a lot of hit records
Hmm.
in his studio on Main Street in Bridgeport, Connecticut, 1122 Main Street.
Hmm.
So I met the guy, and I ended up, he became a dear friend and a mentor. And I would run the studio for him after a while.
Oh, okay.
And I also, did some playing on some records. Angela Clemens
Hmm. Hmm.
gave me just a little more time. I played drums on that with my friend Scott Spray on bass, so I record every week now. So that kind of put me into the loop of what was going on. And Paul took me to New York with him on many occasions, and we would meet these guys that I would never have met. Jerry
Hmm.
Greenberg, president of Atlantic Records,
Wow.
Ron Alexenberg, head of A&R at Sony, and many more.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
Jimmy Iovine. Jimmy Einer, I'm sorry, who produced
Oh, all right.
Dirty Dancing,
Yeah, yeah.
and we would just go to their office and play them stuff, and he said, yeah, bring some of your stuff. They would like my stuff. And I started, just getting into that circle of people a little bit, which was to me was like just unbelievable. I had never been
Mm-hmm.
able to figure out how to do it. I would call people, but they wouldn't talk to you. The secretaries would,
Right. Right.
one label I remember they had a button in the office, and if they didn't know who you were, they hit the button. They would go to a recording and say, "Get lost."
Right. Right. Oh, okay.
They just didn't really have the time or the energy to talk to new people.
Right. Right.
But with him behind me, I could call anybody and say, "Hey, I'm blah blah blah," and I could get in the office.
Mm-hmm.
So that really got me started in a much better circle of people.
So when did you start Horizon?
I started Horizon. I had built at my home in Hamden, Connecticut. At that time, we had built a small home studio. It was actually
Mm-hmm.
one of the very first real home studios.
Mm-hmm.
We were getting written up in like national magazines
Oh,
because it
wow.
was, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because it was a new idea. And so I was doing that, and then one day, a couple of people come by that a friend of mine had sent over to do some demos, and we started talking, and it turns out that they were from Norway, and
Mm.
they were two, a guy and a girl. The guy, his family was like mega rich in Norway.
Mm.
He used to show me pictures of it was like an 800-foot tanker
Oh, wow.
with his initials on the.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
said, "Oh, that's you, yeah."
Ah.
And he was a great guy, and the woman, they were buying houses and flipping houses down in the Wilton area
Mm.
to make money,
Mm-hmm.
and they bought a house from Ace Frehley from Kiss.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they had this place, and this place had a gorgeous recording studio built in the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
They had taken all, there was no more equipment. When he sold the house, he took all the equipment, but the build out was there, and it was beautiful. And it's like 1989, and in 1989 there was a huge real estate crash in in the southern Connecticut.
Right.
So they bought this house for $1.5 million, thinking they were going to sell it for $2 million, and all of a sudden it was worth 800,000.
Oh.
So they didn't want to sell it. So he
Right.
says to me, he met me, and he said, would you be interested in becoming a partner, and we'll open this recording studio, and we'll use the studio to pay the mortgage to keep the thing afloat, and then we'll see what happens in the future. If we sell it, we'll give you money. If we, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we did it, and it was a gigantic success.
Oh, wow.
They had money, so we were able to finance equipment. We got everything going in there,
Mm-hmm.
and I at the time was doing some consulting for this company, Allen Heath, an audio company, and they would take me to all the trade shows, like the NAMM show and the AES show. So I was meeting a lot of people, and among other things, I had met this guy Willie Wilcox, who was Todd Rundgren's drummer. And Willie was looking to move from the West Coast to the East Coast, so he came and he moved into the house and put a studio in it. Then
Mm-hmm.
I had a big studio in the basement. We were doing all sorts of great things. We were
Mm.
doing fabulous until the guy's wife found out he was having an affair with the other woman.
Okay.
So there's a big divorce thing happening, and I mean to go through all the nonsense. He ends up losing the house to his ex-wife, now his ex-wife, who was not even remotely interested in having it. But that was Horizon, and we were doing major records there. Someone who became a dear friend of mine, Michael Chapman, was the biggest producer, and he was like Puffy in 1970.
Oh, wow.
Every week he was on the cover of Billboard, and at the time he was producing Lita Ford, the great chick guitar player,
Mm.
and he loved the studio. It was like 5 minutes from his house. He lived in Easton,
Oh, okay.
and he didn't want to have to go to New York to record. But with us, he would just come to the place. He'd have the artist stay upstairs. He didn't have to get a hotel. We were far enough away from everything that he didn't have to worry about them disappearing and going to get in trouble.
Right.
And he was like the greatest producer in the world. So
Mm.
like hundreds of millions of records. And so he was hanging out there, and I was there, and I just learned tons of stuff from him. That's also when I was there where Willie Wilcox, the drummer, introduced me to this guy, uh, who was managing Sly Stone.
Mm.
And this was right about when the second Woodstock was going to happen. And they wanted to make a record with Sly that they could put out for that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he brought him to from the West Coast to Wilton, Connecticut, and I was going to run the sessions, which was great for me. Honestly, I didn't even really have that much cred, but there were some things I didn't know. One, he wasn't supposed to leave California legally, but they brought him anyway. Two, it
Wow.
was all mafia money.
Oh, okay.
And they had some mafia guys from every Tuesday. Some guy would come up from New Jersey and bring drugs,
Oh.
and they give all these drugs to Slide. He would get high, and then we go record.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as he was getting drugs, he would keep recording,
Okay.
which went on for quite a while until I became friendly with Sly. And one day I gave him. He realized that these guys were just jacking him. It wasn't going to be a record or anything. And I suggested a couple of attorneys to him, which they found out about, and then they decided that they had enough of him being in Wilton. And uh, one day, one of the mafia guys says to me, he says, "You better be careful. Some crap's going to go on next week, and if you don't know about it, you might get in trouble." He wouldn't tell me what.
Wow.
Didn't tell me what it was. So I didn't sleep for like 3 days. But on the third day, I woke up and I realized they're going to bust him and
Mm.
take him back to California so they can control him again because they felt they were losing their grip on the guy. So
Right. Dang.
I picked up the phone and called the FBI. This
Oh
is
no.
true. So I called the FBI and said, "Look, there's a guy here that somebody tells me you're looking for. If I tell you where he is, and will you tell me if you're looking for him?" "Sure." So I told him. He said, "We'll call you back in 20 minutes." Well, 20 minutes later, the place was surrounded by FBI guys. You could
No.
see them, they're sticking their heads up. Finally, one of the guys
Oh.
comes up to the door and he says, "Knock, knock. We're looking for Sly Stone. Yeah, he's over here." So they took him to the Bridgeport jail and sent him back to California.
Dang.
So that was again, just an interesting little thing that happens to you. And there were many little things like that going on at the time.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
It was a
sure.
much crazier business than it is now.
Hey,
I'm
this
sure.
is Marion Meadows, and you're listening to and watching in the Black of My Mind podcast.
What was it like working with Sly though?
Well, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even though most of the time when he's in the studio, he was high, and
Right.
I really spent a lot of time trying to talk him out of that,
Mm.
and we became buddies, but he wasn't going to change because of me.
Right.
I was a little guy, he was a big guy,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but the single most creative person I've ever encountered on the planet is what I
Wow.
would say about him. He
Wow.
could do if you handed him an instrument that he didn't know how to play and came back in 3 hours, he'd be playing it. You know,
Wow. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
he sang everything. He was one of the first guys. I mean, Stevie Wonder used to do this. He would sing all the parts on those records.
Oh. Yeah. Okay.
By
Okay.
Varus, he would Varus be the tape machine, like take it down halfway. He'd sing the part, and then it would be like falsetto on the record, and that he was doing all that kind of stuff. He was great.
Mm. Wow. Yeah. So I was
I mean,
definitely ahead of his time.
25 years later, I got a phone call from an attorney in L.A. who was pro saying representing Sly to sue those managers for $50 million because they'd
Oh.
stolen all his publishing.
Right.
They,
Right.
they
Right.
stole it all,
Wow.
and so they didn't win that, but they did win $5 million for something.
Mm-hmm.
And but that was a trip, go down there and get grilled by some attorney. But there was nothing. I was telling the truth.
Right.
I knew the story because they would talk to me. They thought I was on their side. What they didn't realize is that Sly, first of all, he's a super intelligent guy.
Mm.
This is a very smart person, and he would let them think he was high, and he would just be but he would be listening to everything they said, so he
Mm.
knew what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
and that was that. So, but he was
Wow.
great. I haven't seen him in ages. They keep him pretty walled off, but he is out of that, and from what his attorney told me, he's clean and somewhat healthy.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
So I hope
Could
he's good.
I mean, I know he was past his prime at that point, but could you still see like the musical brilliance?
The musical brilliance was 100% intact,
Wow.
but the rest of it wasn't. I mean, the
Yeah.
desire to go in to fight that war was not really there anymore. He
Right.
did do a record at one point, which I didn't think was very good, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with some European guy who just, I don't know, he didn't know what he was doing. But nonetheless, I mean, he could make a record today.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to do that with him. I tried to get him on a couple things, but just too much in the way, to make it
Right,
happen.
right, right. Wow. So when did you move over there to where you're at currently?
Well, we ran the place in Wilton. I think it's in 91 or 92, 91.
Uh huh.
And at that point, it just became untenable. We knew we were going to get thrown out by the wife.
Okay.
And we actually tried to buy the place because we knew she was going to lose it to foreclosure. She was like an unemployed teacher now with a $15,000 a month mortgage.
Ooh.
Probably not going to work.
Yeah, yeah. I would say.
So we got a backer, and myself and the other woman who had been involved, she was still here. The other guy moved back to Norway,
Mm-hmm.
um, but she was still here, and she had an interest in it. So we found another backer. We tried to buy it at the auction for the house, and they just wouldn't budge. And
Wow.
so, meanwhile, we had found out about this place,
Mm-hmm.
and at first I didn't want to move here, but then I realized that if I didn't make the move, I was probably going to be out of the studio business.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think I would be able to get the funding to get back in. So I said, well, what the hell? I'll take the shot. So we came up here, and these guys had all sorts of problems. They had drug problems. I could go, whatever it is. It reached a point where we had to buy them out, which was great, and we did. And that's it's just been that from here. 35 years in this place.
Wow. Wow.
So and it was a blessing for me because when I was down in Wilton, I was not that well known at the time. So a lot of times they would bring their own engineers and people. I mean, I ran the studio. We were buddies. Once in a while, I'd do something, but for the most part, it was just keep an eye on what's going on.
Right.
Um, but when we came here, it was like, okay, your thing, go do it, and I did. So,
Mm. Mm.
and then you showed up,
Yeah, right.
amongst others.
Yeah. Well, man, please. Everybody has nothing but good things to say about you, and you help so many people and stuff, man. That's why at the beginning, when I was introducing you, I put the philanthropist part in there because
Well,
you have given to so many in the business up this way.
to me, I don't even see it as that. To me, I just see it all as part of a bigger picture of what's going on. And
Right.
when you do something for somebody, something comes back.
Right.
It always does. I've never seen it. Well, I can think of two people. you know, but it's a remarkably short list of people that didn't reciprocate the way they were supposed
Oh, I hear you. I hear you.
to. And to me, I just want to make records.
Right.
That's what I want to do. And if somebody's got the ability to make a record, I'm happy to meet you and try to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be big or giant. You just have to be good,
Right.
in my mind.
How did the pandemic affect you and the studio?
Believe it or not, we were busier in the pandemic than we were before the pandemic.
Wow.
Because I
Why
think,
is that? You think?
well, I felt that it was because people couldn't really play live. There were no live shows.
Right. Right.
So, but let's face it, music people want to do music. So
Yeah.
instead, they would show up here, make a record, and figure, well, we'll put it out when the pandemic's over, but we'll have it done.
Right.
So
Right.
we were very busy during that, and
Mm.
that was a blessing because it didn't have to be that way.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, can you name some of the folks that people would know that have recorded that
That have been
there?
here?
Yeah.
Well, Bobby Brown,
Hmm.
Whitney was here once or twice with Bobby, and
Okay.
Harry Connick Jr., the Blues Brothers did a lot of
Hmm.
stuff with some of those guys.
Hmm.
Donna Summer was here once or twice.
Okay. Okay.
There have been people over the years. It just happens when it happens. It doesn't
Right.
happen as much as it used to because everybody has a home studio now.
Right. Right. Right.
But it's okay. I get to do what I want to do, so I'm
Hmm.
happy.
Okay. Now, you said the Blues Brothers. That was Matt Guitar Murphy was with them.
Matt, yeah, I did 2 albums with Matt. Yeah,
Okay.
he was
Uh,
terrific, terrific
man,
guy.
you know, I think I recall talking to you briefly about him. My dad was in the Air Force
Okay.
and over in Europe, and he I was telling the story to someone not up here not too long ago. But anyway, he went into the NCO club, and he loved music. So he would
Mm-hmm.
go to NCO club, and there was a bunch of guys in there that were playing, and they didn't have a drummer. So they were like, he said, Al, I was sitting on the drums. He said, man, I'm not no drummer. He said, yeah, you would, but you're probably better than these guys because nobody could keep time. So my dad said he wasn't a drummer, but he said as long as they kept feeding him alcohol, he could he could keep time.
I believe
So
that.
he ended up playing all over Europe with them, and the leader of that band was Matt Guitar Murphy.
Oh, wow.
And he was going to stay in Europe. He never wanted to come back home,
Mm-hmm.
and he had 1 month. Uh, his time had expired over in Europe, but he had 1 month before he was getting out of service, and they
Okay.
wouldn't let him get out there. They wanted him to come back to the States and to out process. Excuse me. And so he ended up going to California. But before he left, he threw his cymbals in the Thames River and he never played again. And so he never got a chance to see Matt when he came back to the States. And so I think you were talking about him, and I said, oh man, I would love to hook my dad up with him. And I think you said okay, but Matt had had a stroke or something like
Yeah,
that at that
he did.
time, and yeah, and so I wasn't able we weren't able to make that happen, but
Mm.
yeah, it's unfortunate.
Matt was this, first of all, a great musician. People don't realize if you start investigating his history, who he played with, back in the Chicago days, he played with all of the Muddy Waters people and
Oh
Howard
wow,
Wolf. He played with everybody.
wow.
And very astute musician and great guy. You know,
Hmm.
it was very surprised when he had a stroke because physically he was very strong.
Hmm.
The first time I ever met him, when he walked in the door over there, he had two twin reverbs, one in each hand. Now, if
Oh
you know
wow.
about a Fender twin reverb,
Yeah,
that ain't
yeah,
light.
yeah. It's like concrete in the bottom of those things,
Exactly.
man.
So, but we did a couple of records together. He was just a great guy. His brother Floyd is a fantastic drummer. He played on some of that stuff, and that was also great. I still
Hmm.
talk to Floyd. Matt passed away a couple of years ago. So.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I got some rapid fire questions to
Sure.
ask you. Who are your musical influences?
Well, the first thing was the Beatles, and
Hmm.
maybe the Rolling Stones after that. Um, but my sister became very interested in blues and some gospel really early on. I remember listening to "I'll Take You There" by the Staple Singers,
Oh
a
yeah.
zillion times. It's like, wow, who's this? Um, Different blues things, a lot of different people, but Paul Butterfield Blues Band was big with me. Um, all of them, all that era was my formative thing.
Okay. How did you get involved with recording gospel music? Because there's so many folks that came through there.
Jonathan Dubose.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was in Bridgeport with Paul Lecca, it was like mid-70s.
Mm-hmm.
I'll always remember. You know Michael Brown?
Yes.
Okay. So Michael Brown used to write a lot of songs for Paul, and
Mm.
Angela Clemens was there,
Mm-hmm.
and Janice Dempsey was there.
Okay.
And one day we're getting ready to record something, and Michael brings in this guitar player. He's got this funky Japanese Stratocaster.
Mm.
It had like eagles on it or something. It was really crazy looking. He still has it. It was Jonathan Dubose. So
Wow.
Jonathan sits down across the room. I was playing drums. He's like over there, and quite frankly, some of the other people on the sessions were kind of like, "Who's this kid?
Mm.
What does he know how to do?" Until he started playing, and he's like, "Oh, you could stay."
Yeah.
At the time, he was. It's funny because he once told me that he used to do that kind of Nile Rodgers plucky thing.
Yeah.
He said for like the first 5 years they wouldn't let me do anything else. They wouldn't let me
Mm.
play any chords. And he said finally, of course, John now knows every chord on the planet.
Yeah.
But it was funny the way he said it. So, and then a couple of years after that, I kind of lost track of John. And I got hired by a friend to record a show at Southern Connecticut University in Lyman Auditorium, and it was a
Okay.
gospel show. So I went there to do it. It was Edwin Hawkins,
Right.
and who was playing guitar but Jonathan Dubose. So
You know what? I was playing bongos on that show.
you're kidding?
I kid you not.
Okay, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
so we did that, and I always hit it off. We always had a good, and then when we came here, he brought me all of this stuff that he had on 2-inch tape from earlier sessions, and
Mm-hmm.
we kind of put it all together and put out that Expect the Unexpected record,
Oh, right. Right.
which is still pretty valid record,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
years later. So, but he really was the person who introduced me to that. And then when we came here, also, I think, I'm not sure how directly it came, but I got a call from, I'm not sure who the call was from, but it was about J.C. White.
Oh, okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
they were doing a TFT record that was produced by Sanchez Harley, who's a a Nashville guy.
Okay.
And they were doing it for Benson Records, long since sold. But they did that here, and that kind of was between Jonathan and that kind of launched us into that.
Okay. Okay.
Then I got a call. I mean, JC, they had Beautiful Praise, which Jonathan I produced the first one.
Mm.
Dion Kipping came after that because they threw a Beautiful Praise record, and then various other things. So
Right. Yeah, I know Brenda Culpepper
yes,
and all of those folks.
might have been Brenda that called me. I mean, I love Brenda. She's a dear, dear friend.
Yeah. We tried to get her to manage us, and she we wanted to be on her label and stuff. But at that time, she was just getting out.
Getting out,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but that was cool. But I still talk to Brenda now and then.
Oh, okay.
She was always phenomenally supportive. That's
Mm.
all I could say.
Mm.
But we helped her out a lot too. I mean, I mixed a whole bunch of West Coast Regional Mass Choir with Billy Preston for her.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that record was sitting around. We just got together and I did that, and that was fun. Stuff like that.
Right. Right. What are your hobbies?
I don't have any hobbies. I am what I am.
Yeah, I hear you.
My
I hear
hobby is music. I don't think I do anything else.
you. Wow.
I mean, I might read a little bit or watch a little of this or that, but
Right. Right.
I'm like 90% this.
Right.
Always have
Right.
been.
Right. Thoroughly immersed.
It takes up enough of my time.
I hear you. What is the greatest accomplishment of your life?
Wow. I don't. I mean, probably having my kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you could really. I mean, music is great, but I as much as I love music, I don't know if I could say that my greatest accomplishment was any musical thing.
Mm-hmm.
There've been so
Mm-hmm.
many. Maybe it's just the mere fact that I'm in it.
Right.
It's
Right.
probably the greatest accomplishment. I mean, after all these years, I mean, I had a gospel session last night. It was great.
Mm.
It's like a choiry sort of thing, and
Okay.
the phone still rings. We're here. A lot of
Right.
people
Right.
aren't. So many people aren't.
I was just getting ready to say, man, there's so many studios have closed down. In Connecticut, there's you guys and Carriage House and
Johnny and myself and Doug Copper up in Hartford, but he sold his place to somebody. But that's I forget the name, but he's been up there for maybe that long. The rest of it, you know,
right.
relatively recent. It's really hard to say. And I mean, Johnny's been fantastic. He's a great friend, and
Yeah.
we talk now and then about this, that, or another thing. And
Cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
but there's not a lot.
Hmm. His studio was first studio that I recorded in.
Okay.
Yeah, when they first opened up Carriage House, we myself and I don't know if you know Robbie Jenkins.
Yeah.
Actually, Robbie played acoustic on one of our Better
Yeah,
Way.
I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Great
the
guitarist.
Carriage House predates me. I mean, when I was working at Lecca's in Bridgeport, mid '70s,
Mm-hmm.
he was kind of the guy.
Mm.
There was
Mm.
one other place called I don't remember what it's called, but this guy Spencer or something had built this really tricked out house in the Westport area, and
Oh, really?
he was doing a lot of stuff.
Mm.
But
And I remember Scoville Studios years ago
Scoville,
in Norwalk.
he's around. I still talk to him once in a while.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, But yeah, I mean, most of those places are long, long
Oh
gone,
yeah, long
except
gone.
for Johnny, who was
Yeah,
will be there forever. You know,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
he should be. I mean, he's done great work, and he's
yeah.
got a great facility. And I mean, he's gotten a lot more big clients than I have because he could stay there. That's a
Right,
big deal. And I
and
always
it's
kind of wanted to do that here, but I never could get it together.
and it's close proximity to New York City.
Right. When we were in Wilton, people would call us all the time.
Right.
When we lost the studio, we were supposed to do a Deep Purple record,
Oh
and
wow.
I was all ready for that, but they would never come up here. It was just not. They wanted to go to Ace's old house. That was the whole deal.
Right, right. Wow.
Hi, my name is Howard Cloud. Please watch In the Black of My Mind with host Al Thomas.
What's on your bucket list?
You know, I would like to have one record that really sells in the larger sense. We've had so many records that have done well on, I would call them ancillary charts. We've had 4 or 5 blues records in the last few years that have charted very well on the blues charts.
Uh huh.
I would just like to have one record in the top 10 of Billboard someday.
Right, right,
I don't even
right.
know if it means anything anymore. I was talking to my friend Mike Kaplan, who was head of A&R at Sony for years, and he says, I don't even know if Billboard means anything anymore.
Wow.
So that was kind of for him to say that was kind of a tricky statement.
Right, right,
But I would love to have one just to be able to say that I did.
right.
What it takes to do that, I don't even know anymore.
I
It's
know
such a
that's
bizarre, toxic sort of business. I don't know what to say. But the music is always great. So regardless of that, because I
mm,
had always said to people, don't make music because you want commercial success.
right,
Make music because it makes you happy.
right, right.
And
Yeah,
I think that's one of the reasons why I've been able to be here because, I don't mind if the project is short a few hours, I don't really care. I'll just do it. If
hmm,
you don't have the money, that's okay. I don't want product out there that doesn't reflect well on you and me. You know.
right, right,
So if it means spending a few hours on a mix, who cares?
right.
It's only for the better, and that's kind of always how I saw it. So, I mean, I probably put X number of hours into your record, as I
Oh, you
recall.
did definitely
Yeah.
uh, a bunch of hours. Um, where's the coolest place you ever traveled to?
The coolest place. Wow. Um, hmm. Of course, I went to LA a bunch of times for the NAMM trade show. That was always fun.
Hmm.
But I like going to the Blue Ridge Highway in, I guess it was Tennessee, or maybe it's Kentucky. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay, okay.
It runs all the way down the Blue Ridge Mountains into almost Arkansas. And we drove that one year with my family, and that was a fantastic,
Wow,
beautiful experience.
wow. What makes you unique?
You know, I don't know that I am unique. I think there's plenty of people that can do what I do. Now, are there plenty of people that will do what I do?
Right,
That's another story.
right, right, right,
And that's probably what makes me unique. I mean, we're here, we're financially stable, but it's not like we've made billions of dollars. We've
right.
done okay, and we're here, and I'm happy with that.
Hmm, hmm.
And I would always say that, for me, the music comes way before the money.
Right, right, right.
You know, we have bills that we have to pay. I know that, and we get them paid. But at the same token, I just don't always see it like that. And I have people that come in here that do see it like that, and they don't stay.
Mm.
Because they don't see a meeting of minds. You know,
Right, right.
but that's just the way that is. Not much
Hmm,
more we can say about it. But honestly, there's plenty of people out there that technically can do what I do.
hmm, hmm.
But I think the difference is the heart of wanting to do something special all the time. And that was
Mm.
something I learned from Paul Lecker. I mean, he was always just make sure whatever you're doing, do it right,
Yeah,
do it
yeah,
do it well.
yeah.
Because I hear so many records that seem like they were half finished sometimes.
Right. Oh, exactly. Yeah,
Oh yeah, that was close, but you really didn't do it.
yeah, yeah. No cigar.
Vocals that were not, you know, you could have sung that better. Yeah, but I
Right.
didn't. You know, I mean, okay, so what are you going to say, you know? But that's kind of how, my life, works out.
Right. Right. What is the most important decision you've made to date?
That I can answer. When we were in Wilton in 1990, something like that, and we were about to lose the studio, we got a phone call from somebody that wanted to buy the recording console in the studio.
Uh-huh.
And it was just myself and Ingrid, who was my partner at the time. We were sitting there, and we actually agreed to sell it. And that was before we decided to come here. Then, after I made that decision, I started thinking about it, and that's when I realized that I would never get back to where we were. We were in a good place. Even if we
Mm.
had to move, we were here. We had a name. People knew were learning who I was.
Mm-hmm.
So they were supposed to give us a down payment on a certain day, and they didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I canceled the sale.
Okay.
And that was the single most important decision I ever made.
Wow.
Because once we canceled the sale, we made the commitment to come here.
Okay. Okay.
And that combination of things is why we're having this conversation. If
Wow.
that hadn't happened on that day, we wouldn't even know each other.
Wow. Wow. That's deep. What's your favorite song?
My favorite song, there's a few, but it might be Wichita Lineman by Glenn Campbell.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a nice song.
It's a great song. And,
Walter Beasley just did another.
oh,
Just
good for
did that
him.
over again. Yeah. And he's got a beautiful voice too.
Oh, yeah, he's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a James Taylor version, which actually I didn't think they quite got.
Mm.
But it was good, but it didn't really. And I met Jimmy Webb a couple of times because Jimmy, the writer, who wrote hundreds of hits,
Mm.
back in that era, Up and
Mm-hmm.
Away. He wrote.
Oh wow.
He wrote McCarthy Park.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote so many songs that if you saw a list of it, you'd just be, oh, that one, that one, that one, that one.
Right. 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 Right.
And he comes around and he does shows where he plays his songs, him on the grand piano, and he tells stories about how it happened. It's a beautiful. If you ever get to see it,
And tell me
it's
his
a
name
fit, man.
again.
Jimmy Webb. Jim
Oh,
Webb.
okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Jimmy Webb.
yeah. But he wrote Wichita Lineman, and that song was always fabulous for me. But there's a bunch of them that you know that in my mind have that level of stature. But that's
Mm.
the number one for me.
Okay. And your favorite group?
Well, I guess I should say the Beatles, but my favorite. I'll tell you this, and I saw the Beatles at Shea Stadium. By the
Did
way,
you?
I did.
Wow.
But I think my favorite show that I ever saw was at the Oakdale in Wallingford when it was a tent theater,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
the Spinners, who were so good.
Oh.
I can't even tell how great
Wow.
that guy was. The show
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
they sang great. The presentation was unbelievable. The
Yeah.
vibe was so warm and open. I always remember that show.
Now, is that when they used to have the circular stage?
That's correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And they were
Was
doing
Felipe
all sorts
Win?
of.
I'm sorry.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was there.
Oh, okay.
He was singing, and they were doing Rubber Band Man and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Somebody was recently talking to me about covering "I'll Be There," and I was like, I'd love to do it, although I couldn't see how anybody could possibly do it as good as they did. But
Wow. I met Felipe when he was singing with Parliament Funkadelics
mm,
at the Apollo.
I didn't even know he was doing that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, well, they did a song came out in '79, "Knee Deep,"
Oh yeah.
and
Okay.
yeah, that's him singing on
Oh,
"Knee
I didn't
Deep."
know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, that's him.
What a
So,
voice. What a
oh
voice.
man, yeah,
But even more so, the personality that radiated from that guy
Hmm.
just knocked me off my chair.
Right, right,
I
right.
couldn't believe how good it was. That
Yeah.
was a great theater to see. So I saw Dionne Warwick there. That was wow. That was a
Oh
great
wow.
theater. The Walk on By is another one of my. Actually, anyone who had a heart
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
is I think to me that's another one of those bucket list songs.
Mm.
Great, great, great song. But what she does on the end of that song is just mind-bogglingly great. Yeah.
That's interesting. Luther Vandross covered it
Yep.
afterwards, and and Dion called him when he let Dion hear it. Dion called him up and said, "I hate you."
That's funny.
Uh,
Do you know Carol Sylvan? Do you know Carol?
no.
Or I recorded her. She's done a lot of that stuff. You know, she used to sing with Luther, so she tells me all
Oh,
sorts of
okay,
great Luther
okay.
stories. She was with him for a long time.
Oh, wow, wow.
She's in Hamden tomorrow night, actually. So gotta go over there and
Where?
say hi. At the Small Batch Cellars, which is like it's a winery in North Haven.
Oh, okay, okay. Wow. Got last question. Might be the most difficult of them all. Tell me your life story in one sentence.
In 1960 something, my sister walked into the room and said, holding a picture of Life magazine with a picture on the back of the Beatles getting their MBE awards from the Queen. And she said to me, "Do you know anything about this?" That just started a
Wow,
lifelong quest
wow.
to know not just about them, but about everything.
Right, right, right,
I mean,
right.
I worked with like the Rolling Stones producer for a lot of sessions back in the
Uh huh.
'70s. He, for a while, he lived in Fairfield.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he became friends with Doc Cavalier, who had Todd Nossel Studios, and we were the house band there.
Mm-hmm.
He would come up and hire us to do all these, including some Rolling Stones songs that I got to play on.
Oh, wow, wow.
So I mean, things, but yeah, it's just been that you just follow a line throughout everything, and music is like that. There's everything leads to something else. No matter who it is that you're talking about, whatever artist, there's always something that went before it that you might want to find out about, and something
Mm,
that comes after it that you should find out about.
right.
That makes it makes like a roadmap to a life.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
and
There's
that's
nothing like the backstory, you know.
absolutely true.
You
Yeah.
know, and that's my thing. I love the backstory because in it, when you know the backstory, it makes everything else make sense.
It makes sense. That's correct.
Mm.
And if any business has backstories, it's music. If
Oh,
you're
I'm
talking
sure.
about this,
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
was in college, for the 2 years I was there, the guy running the music department was the guy Ken McIntyre, and he played with Mingus. He was like,
Wow.
he'd be telling Mingus stories,
Okay, okay.
which was just fascinating. Holy shit, what, Mingus, it
Mm.
was great stuff.
Wow.
And that stuff always goes on. But I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's not always good or bad. I mean, I've had people get in over their head in music and find themselves dead, you know, because they kind of borrowed money from the wrong people.
Right, right, right.
And I've seen all that, and then I've dealt with it. What down in Wilton, I mean, I actually was very good friends with all the mafia guys. They were great guys as long as you were on their side. Just
Right,
don't
right.
be on don't be on the other side. But they were very pleasant, and they
Mm.
helped me. I mean, they got me out. When there was trouble coming up, they pulled me aside and said, "Hey, we like you. We don't want to see this happen."
Right, right.
So I mean,
Wow.
all of those things just really add up in a different sort of way. Not too long. I mean, recently Charlie Carp. I don't know if you knew Charlie. He passed away, I think, 3 years ago now. And Charlie was known for he was a Staples High kid.
Mm.
Him and this guy David Hull, they had a little band and they used to play around. And they got hired one night. Staples was the rock and roll high school. They used to have everybody used to come there and play. I don't know how they did that, but there's a
Wow.
movie about it actually. There's a whole movie about the school. And so one
Really?
day, yeah, yeah, you can look it up. Staples High.
Okay.
Buddy Miles shows up to play,
Yeah.
and his band, the Fun Band, you might or might not remember them, but they opened for Buddy. And at the end of the show, Buddy takes it to him aside and says, "You're leaving with me, and we're going on the road."
Wow.
And among other
Wow.
things, Charlie wrote some songs for Buddy.
Uh huh.
And he was around, and maybe 7, 8 years ago, I kind of bumped into him down that way, and I was like, he had nothing going on. He had a little home studio, but it wasn't going anywhere. It's like, you need a record. Let's make a record.
Mm.
And so we did. Of
Hmm.
course, when we finished the record, we were sitting here listening to the record. He says, "I don't feel well. And he goes to the hospital, he goes to the emergency room. They tell him he's got stage 4 cancer, and he died dead 3 weeks later, gone.
Oh
You
man.
know, I don't even know what to say about it because he was so talented and
Right, right, right.
so cool. You know, and Carol Sylvan, who I still produce today, was in his band. And we just sort of took the band and said, well, we're going to keep it going to honor this guy, and it's still going.
Oh, okay, okay. Wow, wow.
Lots of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How can people contact you on social media?
Vic Steffens on Facebook. I don't really do Instagram.
Uh huh.
I just don't have time. But
Oh, I hear. I hear.
Vic Steff, Steffens.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me there. You can call me at Horizon Recording Studios, 203-934-7186. You can email me at Steffmo, Steffmo, at AOL. I
Cool.
talk to everybody. I mean, I don't, if you hit on me out. Even if I can't do anything, I'll at least tell you why or what it is.
Right, right,
But
right,
I like to
right,
meet new people. I like to make records with new people. I'd like to see more new people. You know? I mean, we're
right.
busy, but you know, you never know when that's going to stop. So you kind of have
Exactly,
to be
exactly.
careful to make sure that you're looking ahead into the future to do that.
Right, right, right. Yeah, no, and you guys are doing some great work over there as well, man. Yeah, appreciate you,
We're
man.
trying.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You still
Nah.
playing? You still have that band? Or you were playing with somebody, right?
Yeah, I have a band called Altruistic,
Okay.
um, but
Al Truist. That wouldn't have something to do with Al, would it?
something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
But I retired from the college. I was no community college for 35 years.
Okay.
I retired at April Fool's Day, 2020. 2020. They sent us home March 10th because of this whole COVID thing. And so I'm
Oh, right.
thinking, all right, we'll be out for a week, maybe two, and then we'll be back in. Well, like I said, March 10th, they sent us home. I didn't have the opportunity to go back and gather my belongings until September.
Oh, wow.
And when at that time they said you can come in for an hour, and so you had to get what you need to get and get out of
And get
there
out
in
of
that
there. Yeah.
hour, because the
Wow.
building was shut down and everything was done virtually and stuff.
Hmm.
So it was interesting, man, because like I said, I've been there working there for 35 years, and I got to get everything out of that office in an hour. It's like so I was like, I had plaques and
Yeah, yeah.
certificates, and I just threw that stuff. I shouldn't say that. Well, I threw it in the garbage, man. I couldn't take it with me. I had artifacts. I say artifacts, right? But I had paintings and statues and little things that I got from my travels,
Yeah, yeah.
in Africa and all over the Caribbean, and different people saw that I had these things, so they would bring me stuff. Like I spent a year in Korea, so I had a couple of pieces from Korea, and
Okay.
then so someone brought me something from Vietnam, someone from Cambodia, different parts of Africa and Haiti, and so I just had this a wall of just all kinds of stuff and a bunch of books and and I didn't have the opportunity I didn't have the time to go through everything, and my computer I couldn't go through my computer, and it is what it is. So so I'm home and I'm thinking, okay, all right, so what am I going to do? Because I had planned prior to, I had some concerts, I had a couple of festivals, and then I had a bunch of recording sessions that I was going to do, and all of that stuff got canceled.
Uh,
And I was supposed to do something. Ron Lawrence was supposed to play on the project. Marion has agreed to do some stuff. So at some point I'll still try to make that happen. But for the first, while everything was hot and heavy, man, all I did was sit on the couch in the living room. I
right.
mean, in my family room, and I wore the couch out. You know, I practice every day at
Yeah.
11:30 at night. Now I got all day to do stuff, but I don't start practice until 11:30. But every night, I put in that time.
That's cool.
But all I've been doing basically is playing golf and working on my podcast.
I always remember the story you told me about Bill Cosby. when you met him at Temple and gave him your record.
Oh yeah, yeah,
When I see all the stuff that's happened with him, I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it.
yeah. I know. And that's my frat brother too, man.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So I mean, I go down there and I'm talking to him and I exchange pleasantries with him, and so that he knows I'm his fraternity brother and all that kind of stuff. And so I gave it to him. He's like, yeah, no problem. Whatever. Okay, cool. And so we go back up because we had played. It was there at that arena in that the Temple plays at, the basketball
Right.
and stuff. And so we go back up and where the band is all set up. And so we're watching him. He walks across and he walks over to the score table and he just drops it on the
Dumps it.
table
Yeah.
and walks away. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. That's messed up, man. But it is what it is.
Wild. Bizarre stuff. You see any of those cats recently, or you see Joe?
Joe.
Yeah,
Joe.
Joe.
I played on some stuff for him. I recorded some flute parts in my home studio, and so I see Joe, and plus he's my barber too. So
Oh,
and Tom,
okay.
yeah, Tom's a good golfer as well. So I've had the opportunity to play with him a couple of times. But from the band, from A Better Way, that's pretty much it. I haven't seen anybody else. Wes, the drummer, he passed away. Wes had sarcoidosis. I think that's how you say it. And so he was fighting it for a long time, and it eventually took him out. And Big Dave Pate, the trumpet player, he passed away as well.
Okay.
Yeah, man. So
I have lists of people that have passed away. I mean,
yeah.
and it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah. During the pandemic, my bass player for Altruistic, Donnell Roberts, passed away, and Donnell was a really tasty bass player. And then the bass player that played for us before him was Keith Harper, which I know you know
he
Keith,
passed, sure.
and and Keith passed away. So, man, that was tough, man.
That was a one of a kind period. I don't think you'll ever see it again.
No, not at all. Not like that. But, bro, I'm not gonna keep you, man. I appreciate you, man, for doing this for me. And I
Happy
definitely
to
got
do
to
it.
get over there to see you soon and
I
stuff.
wish you would. Yeah.
And after the first of the year, I'm gonna be calling you because I got to get up in there myself. So definitely, man. After the first of the year, looking to do some things. So
Very cool.
man. But once again, man, I thank you and I appreciate you, man, more than you know.
Thank you, and I feel the same way. I mean, I was always happy. One of the great guys that came through here, and I always, felt that. So happy to
Wow.
meet you.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you.
All good.
Yes, sir.
See you, kids.
Okay. This has been another episode of In the Black of My Mind podcast. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Until next week, y'all be blessed.